Well, hello, folks. It is amazing indeed. We're seeing a new path to Canada, the 51st state. There's two now. There's two, clearly. And Donald J. Trump himself really highlighted this. When I looked at it, I didn't take it too serious, but like clockwork, like lunatic clockwork, the Crown absolutely shows its true colors. Now, folks, Prime Minister Mark Carney's first act is to have the UK King, Charles III, come to Canada's Parliament on May 27th, and he's going to do the throne speech. Now, Canadians, I know you don't know a whole lot about constitutional law, constitutionalism, or even your acts, but 1982 is very important for a lot of reasons. One, it promises this mythical sovereignty to Canadian First Peoples. It says Aboriginal titles. Yes, we will respect all your treaties. We will give you all of these Indigenous rights, they say. And in one sentence, they also say this is the end of the United Kingdom over Canada, meaning the United Kingdom can't have any effect over the Parliament of Canada. And here we are with Mark Carney today, hosting King Charles to effectually run the Parliament, literally holding the black rod, the royal rod. It's Charles' Parliament. That's what Carney is doing, meaning he's directly violating the absolute of the 1982 Amendment, which means our sovereignty, in fact, belongs to the United Kingdom, and we haven't dissolved it. That amendment is easily ignored by the Prime Minister of Canada. Now, this is important for all First Peoples. You gain supposedly all of your absolute treaty rights from the same amendment. It's called Section 35 of the Charter. Mary Simon and Pierre Elliott Trudeau were instrumental in this craft, this writing, which still classifies people as non-human beings. But if your treaties are what they say they are, that means they're inviolable. But however, Mark Carney says they most certainly are volatile and ignorable, because he's ignoring the number one thing about the 1982 Amendment, that UK will have no business in the Parliament of Canada. But here we are, they do. So if that is happening, that means Carney is going forward with infrastructure across Canada, ignoring all the treaties, because if he doesn't have to follow the basis of 1982 at its highest level, what do you think that means for the basis of Aboriginal title people listed in Section 35? It means he doesn't have to follow that either. He can ignore all of it. That's what it means. Now, I'm doing two works here. As a Canadian, I'm doing the Helsinki works. I'm starting that as soon as I get back to Toronto. And at the same time, I'm starting this challenge for all treaty peoples, all Confederacy peoples who overlap the United States of America, and all of those USA, UK treaties made creating the boundaries of Canada even before Canada was a country, meaning that the United States President, in his lane and his power, can dissolve all of them, and there's not a damn thing anyone in the United States, no Congress, Senate, or judiciary can do about it. It's written explicitly and passed as an amendment in the United States Constitution as an exclusive only power of the President of the United States and no one else. Yes, Donald J. Trump can't create new treaties, but he can dissolve all of those. And there is nobody nowhere to stop him from negotiating at that point with all reinstated Confederacy Indian peoples in these overlap territories of Canada, huge, vast tracts of Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, all of Upper and Lower Canada, all of it, almost all of the Atlantic provinces, besides a portion of Labrador. Other than that, it all goes back to the before treaties, and USA has all of those people alive and well in the United States of America as Indian citizens with full self-determination, self-government, and settlement of the claims. Now, do you know what Grok did when I updated Grok on all of this valuable information? Mark Carney's story, Grok could get that. Then I went on to showcase the letter from Six Nations. Grok read that, updated. And then I went on to state that the other publication about Mark Carney bringing Charles III to Canada to do the throne speech as the head of state for Canada once again after 1982, and for Grok to read 1982's amendment entirely and charter and explain to me how all of these things together don't amount to a breach of 1982, and how can you guarantee the basis of 1982 removing UK from Canadian Parliament or governance entirely? How can you say that that is effectual and not say that Section 35 will be breached too? And Grok couldn't answer that. Grok said that's a huge juxtaposition or complete double-cross, double-speak that has always been Canada. And USA renegotiating treaties that were done in bad faith because USA is is Webster's, and Canada is Oxford's, UK is Oxford. And when you go back now and reanalyze the language, America was manipulated by the Crown, no different than all the Canadian treaty holders. Now, if I was to take this presentation, write it up, articulate it beautifully, simplified, serious, and I present it to all of those First Nations, and I'll tell you what AI says. This means treaties 6, 7, 1 to 4, and many, many others. It goes right to ICC, Inuit Circumferential Council of Canada, all of the Arctic peoples and overlaps. It goes to all the named treaties, Robinson, Superior, and many, many more. It goes all the way out to the Micmac, and it goes on to many, many more that are alive and well in the United States of America. Many of these same peoples in other confederacies that still exist in the United States of America have massive land settlements. AI, when they analyze that, they say, well, Donald J. Trump would have to offer some of these groups like Treaty 7, instead of 80,000 current acres amongst all these many, many tens of thousands of people, it would be 1.5 million acres of land that is currently held as private property illegally in said province, Alberta, and of course Crown lands. The First Peoples would have to decide that before Donald J. Trump could proceed. which he could easily do, promising them full self-government, self-determination, and a settlement of the claims. The 3 S's. More than that, they get absolute rights to water, property, corporations, trade. No one can restrict them at all. They get to do their own education, policing, own governmental systems in-house like nothing seen in Canada ever. Folks, this is so explosively huge. The map, the AI-generated map, shows a much smaller blotched Canada, but it's all over the place, but massive Arctic, and then, of course, massive blotch of Canada, this new USA. It's amazing to look at. It's amazing technology, and it's amazing that we can do this work and show the shenanigans of our government. Now, Canadians are going to say, you can't, and even AI, the advanced AI came up with arguments, but NATO's not going to allow that, and the General Assembly and the European Union, and I thought, okay, let's add this. But what will they do if USA quits NATO, and NATO's left alone, and now NATO on its own without USA has to deal with Russia? Well, guess what? The whole narrative, as expected from AI, changes once again. Well, in that perspective, all of this has come out of Donald J. Trump's mouth. Everybody. First Nations need to be shown that they can actually go forward in the same process of these new SOFTA that I'm presenting, which is the Helsinki Final Act for Canada and Canadians. I'm going to do the same process for all the First Peoples. The Indian path to Canada, the 51st state. Now, whether they like it or not, right now they say they don't. But everybody and First Peoples. Now, if all of a sudden you realize, like Treaty 7, you mean we would own Banff, Waterton, Drumheller, Dinosaur Provincial Park, just to name a few. It would be a lot more than that. Literally 1/3 of those areas now would be yours that aren't yours now today. You take all the current infrastructure, it's handed over to you. When somebody rolls out a presentation like that and then tells you, oh, by the way, all of these gas fields belong to you, resources via the Canadian government, those are your royalties, your resources, insured by the United States of America, meaning you get them. All you have to do is codify property rights. They show you how to do that. They've been doing that, everybody, since the 30s in the United States of America. It's 80 some years now. I believe it's actually 86. I'll have to look at that. But for 86 years, they've been doing this. At some reserves have done this at an incredible rate, faster than many states of the Union did in their history. Think about that. And there are some tremendously successful American Indian nations. Way, way more, especially all the people we're talking about in those confederacies. The American counterparts are doing extremely well. You should see all the people in North Dakota, what AI says about them. They don't even know what to do with all the land. They struggle with it. Can you imagine that being a problem? Think about that. Now, I don't want this path, but I'll tell you what. If I want to teach Mark Carney a lesson, and I want to be fair to all the First Peoples, you better believe I'm going to showcase this path, because this will light a fire under the seats of all Canadians, that you can choose it the easy way, the extremely hard way, or another hard way to get to the same. Which, those two ways, the Indian way or the path of hate ways, both result in loss of much financial, much destruction. And I don't want to wait for the latter, so I'd rather empower all the First Peoples in Canada, nation by nation, numbered, named, ICC group, all of it. And we could do it because we already did residential school. We went across. It was a monumental amount of work, but I have a team that's capable of doing that, and it's not even as large scale as what residential school genocide is. But I could put that team together inside of a week, get these two things working, one for Canadians and one for the First Peoples, and we can literally land a mighty, deafening blow and empower the United States. In fact, empowering Donald J. Trump, who is quite aware of all of this. I just don't think anyone from Canada has really done the work for him on First Nations or put that together. But exactly how I say we're going to go through the Canadian ambassador to the United States, we're also going to put the First Peoples in touch with too, in the same stylized letter system. And, you know, Donald J. Trump's going to be like, wow, somebody has done all the work for me, given me all the options, and completed the work in Canada, Canada-wide, beyond any measure. I am going to slap the living shit out of Mark Carney, beyond any measure. It's beautiful. Never give up, folks. Never quit, never surrender. There are many, many ways to skin a cat. I'm excited. I'm explosively busy beyond all measure, but this is exciting. You can always trust the Dirty Crown to be just that, the Dirty Crown. Okay, folks, gotta go. That's my video. Share, share, share. Get it out there. Bye now.